Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Dads of Dagobah. Sean, first of all, let's talk about the name reaction. I feel like we have had fantastic support from our viewers. So really, the women in our lives hate the name, but everyone else likes it.
Can I tell you also that I got a message from my mother after she watched the last episode apologizing and claiming that she has no recollection of telling me she hated the name.
I
So
love your mom. She's
she
great.
retracted that statement. Yes, and she seems to be, if not positive about it, at least neutral right now about the name.
Well, I sent out a Twitter poll to our Twitter followers, and we had 100% of people liked it. So no one dislikes it.
And we won't say how many people voted in the poll.
And actually, we had another viewer, one of our most diehard viewers, say he may get a tattoo of our logo.
Yeah, well, I think we got a comment on the last video, or multiple comments about the name change and people liking it. So it's a good place to be.
That's right.
The rebranding obviously worked.
Well, Sean, today we've been this episode is a long time coming. Ever since The Rise of Skywalker came out, we're going to be redoing our rankings. We have a new movie to throw into our rank. There's now 11 movies, so we need to fit in The Rise of Skywalker. And rather than just place it in where we think it should be, I think you and I have both rearranged our list and re-ranked the movies. I've heard that there is a big jump for you for one of the movies that I have a lot of questions about why it's so high on your list, considering I oftentimes forget that it's a movie. I mean, it's not anything that crosses my mind that often. It's quite forgettable.
Wow, okay. I thought we were just going to casually share our love for Star Wars movies today and tell which ones we like the most, and you're already attacking my subjective opinion on which of the movies I like the best.
I'm the Stephen A. Smith in this relationship, okay? So I'm going to take everything you say and try and find the complete opposite point of view, even if I agree with it, okay? Well, how about we do this? How about instead of each of us showing our own top 11, we each go through like our top 3, then 4, 5, and 6, then 7, 8, 9, and then our bottom 2. How's that sound?
Well, how about we flash up on the screen right now, just really quickly, what our rankings were. We did these rankings. It was our second video ever on this channel. Almost a year and a half, if not almost 2 years ago, we did that video. And so real quickly, we'll show you what they were back then, and now we'll get into what they are now. I will say that back when we did that video, you can go back and watch, I said that some of these rankings would change based on episode 9 because I needed to know the full story of how all these, especially the sequel trilogy, how they all fit together to know which ones I like the best. And so that's why you see a lot of movement in my rankings.
Well, yeah. And we also had The Mandalorian that has to somehow, whatever story it tells, to build on the other movies that we have. I mean, we'll just have to see how this goes. Okay, coming in at the very bottom of my list, Sean. Last time it was Attack of the Clones. This time, the worst Star Wars movie, in my opinion, is Solo, a Star Wars story.
I knew it. I knew you would say that. First of all, I haven't heard these rankings yet because you literally just changed them right before we started filming, and I wasn't expecting you to do that. So this is all fresh to me, and it hurts me, Joseph. It hurts me that you would do that.
Oh, I don't think it's a secret on this channel that we're trying to do a rewatch of all the movies and talk about things we've changed, and we've taken a long hiatus because next on our list is Solo, and I just do not want to watch it again. So Solo is my number 11.
Therm Scissor Punch does not approve of your rankings.
The only good thing I like about Solo, a Star Wars story, and I feel like some people may or may not agree, but I feel like I may be in the minority, is L3. I love the robot.
Really, that's the only thing that you liked about that movie? Everything else was terrible.
Yeah, I'll stand behind that statement. I'll stand behind that. I mean, Lando. Okay, Lando. Donald Glover is awesome. Okay, that's
I
cool.
I cannot wait until we do our rewatch because I need to talk. What our very first video on the channel was our solo review, and we didn't know what we were doing. We talked for like over an hour, and we cut it down to like 20 minutes. I feel like we have so much to talk about with Solo
I know.
that needs to be said.
Well, it's at the bottom of my list. And then right above that is Attack of the Clones, which used to be my very bottom, but now it's my second to the bottom, followed by Phantom Menace. So that's my bottom three. No real change there with those two. Attack of the Clones still has a hard time for me really get going. Really, it's kind of a little bit too much for me. I mean, there are awesome scenes and cool things, but the romance just kills that whole movie. It brings it down from a top 5 down to a 10 because the terrible dialogue. And then Phantom Menace, really, I just don't like most of the Tatooine scenes. It's kind of a very long middle act 2. I feel like a lot on Tatooine could be cut down. So there's just, I kind of not the biggest fan of Phantom Menace. I still like it, but the whole act 2 is hard.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, my bottom three, now that I've just called you out for the low ranking on Solo, I will, spoiler alert, your bottom three are also my bottom three. It's just in a different order. So my number 11 at the very bottom is Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, for all of the reasons you said and all of the reasons that we talked about in our hour-long video about what we would change about that movie. There are some highlights of it. There are some great moments, but overall, it's just the Anakin-Padme relationship is so cringeworthy that it's hard to even rewatch that movie.
Yep.
Number 10, and it hurts me to say this, is Solo, A Star Wars Story. But let me tell you something before you think that I don't like this movie. I love this movie. I'm in love with this movie. I think it's
How many times have you watched it since it came out of theaters?
Maybe 3.
What?
Yeah, I own it on DVD, and it's on like Netflix, or is it on Disney Plus now or Netflix? There's even a Spanish version.
You watch it on DVD?
Listen,
You are someone that I thought didn't rewatch a lot of the movies, and to hear that you've watched it 3 times, that's crazy to me.
well, I rewatched the movies. I don't rewatch The Last Jedi. Yikes. Yeah, no, I've watched it probably 3 times. I enjoy the movie, and the only reason it is so low, pun intended, on the list is because of its relevance in the overall saga. I would describe it as a very fun but irrelevant Star Wars movie.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the undertones of the romance between Lando and a robot, but okay.
Oh, no, I don't know. I thought that was funny. I think that the humor lands in that movie. I think it's a very funny movie. I think it's entertaining. The pacing is good. Like, I'm interested.
I wonder how much my ranking would change if I would just watch it again.
Seriously. You went into that movie, my recollection is you went into that movie with so many expectations, thinking, and I was like, why? It's not part of the episodes. It's just supposed to be this standalone fun movie. I think it's fun. Anyway, I look forward to talking about it more. And to prove that even though it's number 10 out of 11 on my list, that I actually do love it, I am a stalwart advocate of the hashtag campaign Make Solo 2 happen. All right? I think that this definitely...
I don't disagree at all. I would love to see a sequel.
And if they don't want to do a theatrical release, because the box office on this was disappointing, but if they don't want to do a theatrical release, have you ever heard of a little platform called Disney Plus?
Yeah.
Where you can do a Mandalorian-style show, and I even have a name for it. Are you ready for this? Crimson Dawn. Where the entire show is the exploits of Maul and Kira. Han and Chewie can be even side characters, like not even hardly in it. I want to see what happens to Kira and Maul and the Crimson Dawn. Where was that going? There's plenty to explore in that timeline. Disney Plus, Crimson Dawn, streaming show, Kathleen Kennedy, make it happen.
I think that's one of the disappointing things about Solo is they open up a big can of worms at the end, and then it's not fulfilling. Like, that's one of the reasons why I don't like it, is because, oh my gosh, they have Darth Maul again on the big screen, and then it's, meh, there you go.
Yeah.
Do with it what you will, you know?
Yeah.
Like.
Anyway, so there's my thoughts on
Solo.
Tease. And I look forward to talking more about it in our rewatch recap.
Release the Lord and Miller cut. That's
Release.
all I have to say.
Yeah, I would actually. I'm a little disappointed we didn't get to see that. And then my number 9, same as you, is Phantom Menace. I actually really like the Phantom Menace. Some of the parts that you don't like the pod racing, I still enjoy those parts. But remember, before the sequel trilogy ever came out, there was that machete order of viewing, and the big thing was you didn't even have to watch the Phantom Menace because it doesn't actually change the story. And so, once again, even though I love Darth Maul and his reveal, and I love Qui-Gon, I love the duel of the fates and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon fighting Darth Maul, so many great things in that movie. But ultimately, it's just not as relevant to the whole saga.
Yeah, and there are better movies above it. It's not a bad movie. There are just better ones, right?
Yes.
Okay, how about I'll do my next 3. Coming in at number 8. Wait, 11, 10, 9. Yeah, number 8. It's The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
What a reveal. Take that shirt off, Sean. I don't want to see it.
What? I didn't like the movie either. I would never represent that movie.
Ooh, The Rise of Skywalker. I don't know, man. Rise of Skywalker is just leaving a weird taste in my mouth. It really is. I don't know what to say. It's fun. It's funny. It is not the culmination of 9 movies by any stretch of the imagination. And that's what they hyped it up to be, and that's what I feel like it should be. It doesn't even feel like the end of the 3 movies, you know?
Yeah.
Just disappointing.
Well, I feel like none of the sequel trilogy movies go together.
Yeah.
So they all seem like
as much as we harp on George Lucas, he knew how to tell at least a 3-part story.
Yeah. All right. What's your number?
Number 7 is Revenge of the Sith, a great movie. I love the movie. It's the best of the prequels. It's a good movie. I'm surprised that it's above my Rise of Skywalker, but I feel like Revenge of the Sith does a better job telling a story than Rise of Skywalker, and I enjoy it more. I mean, it still has its faults. It still has its weird moments, but overall, it's a good, fun movie. And it has a lot of depth to it. It has a lot of, there's a lot of stuff riding on the movie.
I think that that's really insightful. I think that Revenge of the Sith is probably the most comparable to Rise of Skywalker in terms of the expectations that were put on the movie. That I don't think Return of the Jedi had as much pressure because it was still new in the original trilogy. They could wrap it up in a nice bow, those 3 movies. Whereas Revenge of the Sith had this pressure to not only close out the prequels, but also connect and lead you into the original trilogy. Whereas obviously Rise of Skywalker had the pressure to close out the entire saga. So yeah, they're very comparable.
Yep. And number 6 and 5 can kind of go back and forth, but right now number 6 is my Force Awakens. It's a fun movie. Oftentimes I forget, I have to remind myself about what actually happened in the movie. There's a lot of forgettable moments. The whole Starkiller Base thing is kind of not the best, I mean, it was a very safe movie to be made for J.J. Abrams. It introduced a lot of fun. It has great characters, but it's not in my top 5.
All right.
What about 876? What's your number 8, Sean?
So I know that I can already feel the eye roll coming from you.
I swear, if you say The Last Jedi, I will shut down this channel right now. I will shut it down.
Well, everyone, thanks for watching. This has been the end of the Dads of Dagobah channel. We appreciate your support. We've had a blast doing this, but we are now have irreconcilable differences as creative partners. My number 8 is The Last
Oh,
Jedi.
boy, my goodness.
Listen, let me tell you why. First of all, I hope you remember that I love Solo and I love The Phantom Menace. So I am not saying that The Last Jedi is a bad movie by any means. It's not. I have actually, whether you believe me or not, because I know you give me looks all the time. I feel like I've come a long way with my relationship with The
I'll
Last
give you that. I'll give you that.
and a lot of the things that originally I didn't like, um, through talking with you and the numerous YouTube videos you send me to try to convince me to love The Last Jedi, of video essays on why it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to cinema and film history. Um, some of the things that I didn't like about the movie, I have been swayed on, and I feel like, all right, at first I didn't really like it, but I'm on board with it now, and I understand why everybody likes it, and so I can enjoy it as well. But I still cannot get past certain things. I understand that it was subverted expectations. I understand that it was unexpected and did things that Star Wars movies didn't do. It was kind of refreshing in that way that it bucked Star Wars, the Star Wars formula, so to speak. But on a base level, I still feel like not enough happens in it for me to feel like the story is super engaging in terms of the overall like plot of the galaxy, like what is happening and what's happening in these Star Wars. I just feel like it's slow, and there are parts of the movie that I just skip entirely because I'm like, I'm not watching this. This is irrelevant. Like the Canto Bight sequence. So anyway, I still think that it was beautifully shot. It has a lot of amazing cinematography and film techniques and respect. Rian Johnson, no doubt, respect for the original trilogy and mirroring certain things. You've sent me a lot of that kind of stuff. Very cool. I love all that kind of stuff. But just the overall plot to me is like, this isn't my favorite plot. This just isn't as exciting to me as other movies. So that's why it's my number 8. Still enjoy it. Still think it's a great Star Wars movie. I'm glad that it is a Star Wars movie. I'm excited for Rian Johnson to work on future Star Wars projects and hope that he gets a trilogy where he can take a new, fresh story and tell a 3-part story, his story, without the incongruence of what we experienced in the sequel trilogy. But it's not my favorite. All right. Moving on, I've said enough about that, I think.
I literally have nothing to say to you right now. So you might as well just go to your number 7 here.
Well, maybe you'll get on board with this. My number 7 is actually The Rise of Skywalker.
Ooh.
When I came out of that movie, I remember me and you were obviously there and talking with my parents and my dad. And my dad and I both felt like, I think that's like in my top 5. Like I was really feeling The Rise of Skywalker right after we saw it. I thought it was great.
You were a big champion of it.
Yeah.
And your dad was, yeah.
I still really liked it. I still have good memories of when we went and saw it. I think I was thoroughly entertained the whole time. We saw it 3 times. I saw it 3 times in theaters, which usually if I see something 3 times in the space of 2 weeks, like by the 3rd time, I'm like, I'm not interested in this anymore. But I was engaged and interested all 3 viewings. We get some awesome stuff in The Rise of Skywalker. Maybe one of my top moments in Star Wars history is the Kylo Ren Han Solo memory scene. I just can't handle that scene. Anytime I saw it, I was like, oh gosh, I can't get through this scene without shedding tears. So I really love that scene. I love the redemption of Ben Solo and hate that we didn't get more Ben Solo. But anyway, I had to keep moving it down because the more we thought about it, the more we processed it. I just thought there were lots of things that don't work in The Rise of Skywalker. Mostly Papa Palpatine. I just feel like the more I think about it, the more I can just pick it apart. Like, this is not the right decision. But I mean, it did do one of the things I wanted it to do was just make me feel the nostalgia of loving Star Wars and enjoying Star Wars and being a Star Wars fan. And it's a great movie for that. All of the score, John Williams' score, all of the character interactions, like, I thought that was great. But once again, the plot and the Palpatine stuff didn't really work for me.
What did it do? What did its release do to your ranking of The Last Jedi? Because you said you had to wait until The Rise of Skywalker. What about this movie either changed The Last Jedi or other movies in the list?
Well, the last time we did the rankings, I had The Last Jedi at 7 and Force Awakens at 8. And my argument was I liked The Force Awakens more than The Last Jedi, but I felt like The Last Jedi completely broke off from where The Force Awakens was going. That's how I felt at the time. And so I felt like I had to put Force Awakens lower because The Last Jedi had kind of made Force Awakens irrelevant. And I probably would have had Force Awakens still down at the bottom and Last Jedi higher if I would have felt like Rise of Skywalker connected to The Last Jedi. But I feel like it was fragmented again. And it was another fractured connection of this doesn't feel like a continuation of The Last Jedi. So then, as you can tell, obviously I haven't mentioned Force Awakens yet, so it's higher than Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker. Then it catapulted for me Force Awakens higher of, well, if I'm going to judge these three just by themselves, I like Force Awakens the best just standalone of the 3 sequel movies.
Very interesting.
Anyway, so there you go. So Rise of Skywalker, number 7. And then number 6, actually, I know you probably aren't going to be happy I have this low, but number 6, I have Rogue One.
Yeah.
Right in the middle there. I absolutely adore Rogue One. I think that it has the definitive best space battle in all of Star Wars in that movie. I love that space battle. Great plot, great characters. I'm excited for the Cassian Andor and K2SO series on Disney Plus because I liked those characters. And just an overall really well done movie. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good one. It's higher on my list, but that's okay. Man, it is. I get. Okay, now I'm going to respond to your Last Jedi stuff. I get it. I understand Last Jedi has a lot of problems, and I appreciate the problems that you have with it as opposed to what I feel like a lot of other people have with it, a lot of other problems that people cite. I, too, can feel it's very small in scope, it's Canto Bight, there's not a whole lot of anything else going on. It's just like people training on an island and then a slow-speed car chase. I get it. There's just so much set up for me in that movie that a lot of it kind of makes up in my mind for it. But we'll get to that later, in my opinion, on The Last Jedi. I can appreciate your thoughts. We can keep this channel going a little bit longer. Okay, here's my number 5. And we're getting to the top half of the list. My number 5 is A New Hope.
Oh, what?
What?
Oh, no. I just did not think that was coming out of your mouth.
Did it just flip-flop with Return of the Jedi? They're really the same for me. Return of the Jedi and New Hope, I both really like them. They flip-flop back and forth. Return of the Jedi is my number 4. They're both great movies, the original trilogy. I just think, I don't know. I mean, what's there to argue between 4 and 5? I mean, they're just fun movies. I enjoy them. Then my number 3 is Rogue One. Rogue One is a fantastic movie. It has very little flaws with it. There's no part of the movie that I skip. There's no part of the movie that I'm like, oh, this is kind of the boring part. All of it is good. It's got Bail Organa. It's got the Ghost. It's got, it's got the U-Wing, which is my favorite spaceship of all time. It's got the Darth Vader just tearing apart rebels. I mean, it's a fantastic movie, and it has very little to do with Jedi or the Force. I mean, there are the Guardians, you know, Beckett and no, not Beckett. Gosh, that's Solo. Chirrut and
Baze.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I mean, it's such a great movie, and it's so strange that it had so many problems during production, but yet it still turned out to be such a fun, great movie. It just, I mean, the final battle takes place both in space and on a sandy beach. I mean, that's awesome. That's cool stuff right there. Also, it has some of the best levels in the Battlefront game, and I'm so excited that they're bringing it back to Battlefront 2. Like, that's been 2 years too late, in my opinion. Hashtag Jyn Erso needs to come back and be a hero again. Okay, so yeah, that's my
That's
5, 4,
trending. That will be trending pretty soon.
Yep, hashtag.
I do like that you just talked about how it has nothing wrong with it and like so many great things, and then the first two things you mentioned were Bail Organa and the Ghost, which are like the most side fan servicey things that like don't even have anything to do with
it. I know. It's just what was coming to my mind. I mean, it's got
the Ghost. I mean, if you got the Ghost in the background of a space battle and no one even points it out, you just have to know that it's there. Then what's wrong? There's nothing wrong.
It's got the Hammerhead Corvette going up against an Imperial Star Destroyer. It's got K2SO fighting stormtroopers. It's got, X-Wings, and it's got Admiral Raddus.
Admiral Raddus is the highlight of that movie. Like I said, the space battle in Rogue One is a lot of people think that Return of the Jedi space battle with Akbar, the second Death Star, they like that as the best space battle. No. Scarif, Rogue One is the best space battle. Even when they spliced in Gold Leader and Red Leader, I'm like, this is amazing. This is just the greatest.
God, yes.
Yeah, Admiral Raddus, loved that character. He's so great.
Okay, there's my 543. What's coming up on your?
All right, my number 5, down one spot since the last time we talked, is Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
I have a special place in my heart for Revenge of the Sith. I was 16 when it came out. I thought it was the greatest movie that had ever been made. I was confused why it wasn't winning every Academy Award. I just loved it, and obviously we made some ripples on this channel when we talked about Revenge of the Sith and our disagreement on the greatest lightsaber battle of all time between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker.
I think I've come to appreciate it more, but there's still some goofy parts, okay? But continue.
The gravitas, all right? The emotional depth in that battle, it's just heart-wrenching.
Have you seen the new memes? Have you seen the latest round of memes making fun of that scene?
Listen.
Where Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, or it's Shrek versus Obi-Wan. There's some high-quality memes coming out from that battle. So you're right. It does have a redeeming quality. It's very memeable.
Listen, if it's getting memed like that, it can only mean one thing. It's iconic. I love Revenge of the Sith. I love the whole rise of Palpatine and Vader and the Empire and the fall of the Republic and the fall of the Jedi, Order 66. There's just a lot going on in that movie that I enjoy. I always enjoy rewatching it. It's a movie that I enjoy, despite the Padme and Anakin awkwardness. And then number 4, almost cracking into the top 3 and almost unseating my beloved original trilogy is Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
This is a strange one to me, Sean. It jumped so far on your list and seemingly out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Just because of the Rise of Skywalker, it's now jumped to number 4. You're saying that The Force Awakens, with its Rathtars and its Starkiller base and its Captain Phasma punk taking down the shields, and you're telling me that is almost on equal footing with the original trilogy?
Yes, I am. And why are you acting like you're clutching your pearls about this? Because you put A New Hope and Return of the Jedi below Rogue One, and Last Jedi. So don't even talk to me about the original trilogy like you're some defender over there. First of all, let me tell you that I already explained. When I look at all three sequel trilogy movies, I have to judge them independently because I don't feel like it's as cohesive as I would have liked it to be, the overall threads. And I have the best taste in my mouth about The Force Awakens. And you described it as a safe movie for J.J. Abrams to make. And I will agree that, yes, the big knock that Force Awakens is that it follows too many beats from A New Hope. Everybody I'm like, well, okay, yes, there are undeniable parallels, but there's enough new stuff in there, and I like the characters. I like Force Awakens Finn better than any other Finn, better than Rise of Skywalker or Last Jedi Finn. I think he's best in The Force Awakens.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
I really don't like Poe in The Last Jedi. I think he's a little bit better in The Rise of Skywalker, but overall, less Poe to me is better, and so he's least influential in The Force Awakens.
Fired.
And so I like that.
You wish you would have died in the sand field of Jakku, it sounds like, huh?
Yeah. I think Rey and Kylo get better and better with each movie. I think they get better in Last Jedi and then even better in Rise of Skywalker, but I still think they're extremely strong characters in The Force Awakens, and so I don't have a problem with them in The Force Awakens. Yeah, I just really like it. I mean, I don't know. I am not as bothered by the parallels with A New Hope. And so while it has Rathtars, Last Jedi had the Fathiers on Canto Bight. I mean, so I chalk that up to that. We get Han Solo in The Force Awakens. I think Harrison Ford does a good job portraying Han Solo in The Force Awakens.
He does. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like if I look at those three movies, even though it's the safest movie, the other two movies took more risks, but a lot of those risks did not pay off for me subjectively, just my opinion. Some of the risks that were taken in the other movies didn't pay off. And so the fact that Force Awakens risked less, it actually worked better for me.
I'm excited for our Force Awakens review movie. I'm excited for that because I agree with a lot of that. And I'm interested to hear how you would make it a better movie.
Yeah, well, there's only one way to get to that video, Joseph, and it's to watch Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Don't say it.
All right.
I should just tell myself that if we do Solo, then we can do Rogue One. And I'll just come to the movie saying, don't need to change anything.
That's true. And then my number 3, I feel like I give way longer explanations on mine, and I need to not be as...
I don't think that's anything new to our channel. I think most people would know you're the more talker than I am.
That's true. And then so my number 3 is, now we're getting into my top 3, obviously the original trilogy. I don't think that will ever be unseated.
Stop it.
Not only do I not think it'll ever be unseated, but I'm okay with it not being. I don't expect new Star Wars movies to replace the original trilogy in my heart. I don't even want them to.
That seems pretty close-minded to me. You know, you should ask with a sincere heart what is the best Star Wars movie. And it sounds like you have an unconscious bias. You prefer the original trilogy over all of them. I think you need to check yourself.
Okay. Well, I'll maybe do that later, but not right now. And so my number 3 is Return of the Jedi. I think it's, I still love it. I think it's the completion of the hero's journey. The Emperor's throne room scene is fantastic. It makes up, in my mind, it makes up for the Ewok stuff. Just to see the interactions between Luke and the Emperor, Vader and the Emperor, Vader and Luke, all those things. I just love that movie. I love the conclusion to that trilogy. There's very little that I don't like about that ending.
Yep, cool. Very cool. Okay, well, it comes down to our top 2. My number 2, Sean. Do you think it's changed? Do you think it's changed at all?
No, I would fall out of my chair.
I would fall out of my
chair if you put Last Jedi number 2. I would fall out of my my chair. Oh, speaking of Ewoks.
Hey, Calvin.
Hey, we're trying to film a video.
Sorry. I told them to go in our room.
Hey, go in mommy's room.
Go in my room. I'm going to bring you a drink and a snack.
Cute little kid. Okay, do you think it's changed? Do you think Last Jedi or Empire takes my top spot? Well, spoiler alert, I'm a man of my word. Coming in at number 2, Empire Strikes Back. Which means, as it should be, The Last Jedi is my number 1 movie. Thank you very much. I will see myself out. Nothing can beat that movie. Just like you used to say, nothing can be better than the original trilogy. There is no movie in the future, forever and from always, that will be better than The Last Jedi. I say it. Talk about the High Republic. Rian Johnson could put out 5 Oscar-winning movies. It will not be better than The Last Jedi, okay?
Listen, you know what I'm going to say to that as my rebuttal? I'm happy for you, Joseph, that you feel that way. And I will not tell you to search your feelings and ask with sincere heart about which Star Wars movie is true and try to persuade you otherwise. I think I love that you love The Last Jedi. It makes you who you are. And so I'm glad that you can enjoy that.
Yeah, Empire Strikes Back.
It's too bad that it's completely wrong.
Empire Strikes Back is a great movie. I absolutely love it. There's not a lot wrong with The Empire Strikes Back. It's just there's so much good in The Last Jedi. And I understand there are faults, and I see those faults, and I get it. I see them. I have problems with them too. But there's so many good parts of that movie. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, can't knock it that you like it so much. We've talked about this. We talked about this when we were in Little Rock watching Rise of Skywalker, and I posed the question, I just feel like what is so great that I understand if you think it's a great movie, like I'll give you that, but to think it's the very best one, I'm like, really? I just feel like I haven't gotten a good enough explanation other than it was unexpected.
It's the Rey Kylo. It's the Rey Kylo. It's all of that.
That is the best part.
It's their interaction. It's Rey's journey from a nobody on Jakku with these incredible powers to, in my opinion, still a nobody, but the leader of the resistance, and how she takes upon that mantle. And it's the journey, it's the story of Kylo, who is a wannabe teenage emotional boy, becoming this leader of the First Order and his rise to power, and how for the briefest of moments we think they're going to join hands and rule the galaxy together, and then Rey just, don't do this, Ben, don't do it. I mean, it's just heartbreaking. It's just such a great movie. Rey is so fantastic. And Kylo, I mean, the acting alone is fantastic. I don't feel like you get that type of acting from a lot of the original trilogy. You get the acting on Bespin with the whole Darth Vader Luke. I feel like that's really like the pinnacle of, well, actually, and then in the throne room, that's good acting there too. I feel like Luke is the one who has the real moments, But anyway.
So let me ask you this question. Did the Rise of Skywalker diminish The Last Jedi for you at all because of the Rey lineage thing and other parts?
I don't know. I'm kind of in denial about the whole Palpatine thing. I know I need to just accept that she is a Palpatine. It takes away the fundamental part, the fundamental love that I have of The Last Jedi is completely thrown in the garbage and spat upon in The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, yikes.
That's how much I dislike that Rey's a Palpatine.
Yeah, you've asked many times, how does it fundamentally change anything that she's a Palpatine? She doesn't have to be a Palpatine. I agree with what you're trying to say, but I also am not super bothered by her being a Palpatine because I don't know. I guess I'm just not woke enough or emotionally intelligent enough, but her being a nobody wasn't like this amazing thing for me in The Last Jedi or The Force Awakens. Like, this is good, this, because I don't relate to it. And I know a lot of people do, so I don't want to discredit that or dismiss it. Like, that's a very important theme that I think they should have kept for The Rise of Skywalker, but it wasn't the theme that drew me into the story. And so it just doesn't affect me as much that they made it.
That's the thing that I love so much, that this, orphan girl on a planet, on a desert planet, junkyard scavenger, can be destined for greatness. Doesn't have to be of any lineage, doesn't have to be, and even, we kind of made fun of the broom kid at the end after we saw The Last Jedi. We're like, oh, is the broom kid going to be in episode 9? But I feel like that little 4 seconds of movie, like, basically cemented what the whole point of the movie was. It was like, anyone can be this. And I feel like that's just a great message in my own real life. So, there you go.
So to play...
I'm not royal lineage, I'm not a Bush or a Kennedy or, whatever, but I can still be destined for greatness.
Well, to play devil's advocate, how does The Rise of Skywalker ruin that theme for Rey?
Because now she got her force power because she's a Palpatine. She's so powerful because she's a Palpatine.
Yeah, but is the theme the greatness of the theme from The Last Jedi that she's powerful, or that she is becoming somebody, or that she is a good leader,
from basically nothing, she has become the greatest Jedi. I know we don't like to use the term Jedi because is she really a Jedi? But the greatest, she's the Resistance, and she came from nothing. She was a nobody. Sold for drinking money.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is that in The Rise of Skywalker, there's still a theme of it doesn't matter that she was a Palpatine because she bucked that family heritage or whatever, and hi.
Dads of Dagobah.
Dads of Dagobah. For some reason, at 9 o'clock at night, he's still awake. She bucked the Palpatine name and didn't give in to the dark side and basically renounced the name and said, It doesn't matter that I'm a Palpatine. So it doesn't matter who she came from. It doesn't matter who she was, that she was a nobody. And basically in Rise of Skywalker, she's saying it still doesn't matter who I am because I'm not going to follow in the legacy of my family name. So there you go. Rise of Skywalker, number 1. Which is still a powerful message for people who feel like they come from bad families or they weren't raised in the best situations, that they, maybe they had abusive parents or whatever it is, the message of, I don't have to be like that. I can change my own history and I can change the pattern.
I can appreciate that, yeah. But it's also similar, though, to the story that we're told in the original trilogy with Luke. Luke finds out that he is the son of the most evil man, according to him, Darth Vader at the time. And then episode 6 is his overthrow of that and saying, I don't have to join my father. I don't have to join the dark side just because it's my lineage. I mean, we get that with Rey, but for some reason in 9, that same plot point is so far less fulfilling than it is in 6. And I would have liked it better if she was still Rey from Jakku and not Rey Palpatine,
And I think that we also get a similar beat from Return of the Jedi in Rise of Skywalker when Ben Solo is redeemed and then dies, similar to Vader. So the Rey thing, Rey kind of following Luke's path, Ben following Vader's path, I think that, it was a little too similar. So there's another criticism of JJ with Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker. not switching it up enough to feel like it was as satisfying.
Yeah.
All right, should I
Okay.
get my top
Those
two?
are my top two. Your turn. Your top two.
My top two have not changed since the last time we did this. Number 2 is A New Hope. Number 1 is Empire Strikes Back. And I would almost put these 1 and 1A. It is just razor thin, the margin on these two movies for me. I think they are Star Wars. It's quintessential Star Wars. It's what I think of when I think of Star Wars. I mean, New Hope with Luke on Tatooine and meeting Ben Kenobi and, going off on this adventure, the Death Star, and saving the princess, and the trench run, the Death Star trench run. There's just so many iconic things about it that just obviously I'll always enjoy.
I will challenge one point. I feel like the princess saves them in that movie, but
right, that's true. But they technically opened the cell door, so she could not rescue them unless they would have done that. So they did.
That's about all they were good for. They brought the ship and they opened the door. She did about everything else.
Yes. But then Empire Strikes Back, I mean, similar to what you said about Rogue One and Last Jedi, there's just nothing in Empire Strikes Back that I think is bad. Like, the entire movie, I'm like, yeah, I'm into this. I'm into the whole Hoth sequence. I'm into Dagobah meeting Yoda lifting the X-Wing, training Luke. I'm into the Cloud City sequence. Obviously, the big reveal of Vader being his father, which we talked about this in Little Rock as well. That was the original subvert your expectations. That's like the OG fucking the tradition of like I was talking to my dad and he was talking about how when he went and saw it in theaters, they all walked out thinking he's lying. He must be lying. Like, that can't be real. And so, I think for us, our generation growing up with that knowledge, that reveal isn't as impactful. But I think, it's important to remember that was like totally unexpected. And that whole movie, I think, is just chock full of great lore, great characters. We get the introduction of Lando. Good stuff. I love Empire Strikes Back.
Well, fans, we appreciate you sticking with us. It's been a good 50-minute podcast or so. We've had a lot to talk about. Our lists have changed a little bit since last time, but a lot of it has stayed the same. We'd love to hear if you guys agree or disagree. Where do you put Solo, a Star Wars story, on your list? Where does it rank in the 11th spots? Where do you put it? And where do you put The Last Jedi and Force Awakens? I feel like those are the big three we've been spending our time on. But, John, it's been a pleasure. I always appreciate your list. I appreciate your love for the original trilogy and your love for the Revenge of the Sith. You are still on Revenge of the Sith, and I think as I'm doing to you with The Last Jedi, you're doing the same with the Revenge of the Sith. There's a lot of good stuff there in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, our list, I think both of us feel like our top movies aren't going to change for a long time unless something comes along that just is the most amazing Oscar-worthy movie ever created. But I think my list is pretty solidified at this point moving forward, but I still enjoy all of these movies. We'll flash up one more time a comparison of both of our rankings now, our 2020 rankings for the 11 Star Wars movies. And technically, actually, there's a 12th Star Wars movie, which is the animated Clone Wars movie, which I think would be 12 for both of us.
I honestly have not seen it, so...
It's 12 for me, not necessary to watch. But yeah, tell us in the comments below what your rankings for these movies are. We got great engagement from our viewers the last time we did this video, and I loved looking through all the rankings. So leave your comments below, like, subscribe. We're going to keep the cadence going. Our next video, I think, is supposed to be... Is it our Solo rewatch, or is there something else?
Oh, it's Solo.
Our Solo rewatch. Therm Scissor Punch will have his revenge on Joseph Naylor. All right, so excited for that. So look out for that video, and until next time, thanks for watching.
See ya.